Hello everybody, Gage here from Sharp. Excited to have you with me today again for another exciting knife-related video. Today, for your viewing pleasure, we are going to thoroughly damage this Japanese knife. But before we get to that, quick word from our sponsors. So if you're unfamiliar with us, we are Sharp Knife Shop. We specialize in handcrafted Japanese knives, and we travel across the country of Japan and find blades that we really like and think our customers will appreciate. If you've never used a Japanese knife, maybe you're thinking about purchasing one, but you're a little bit apprehensive because you've heard that they are easier to damage, a little more prone to chipping and stuff like that. In this video, we thought it would be fun to push this knife to the limit, see exactly what it takes to damage one of these knives, and maybe put your mind at ease a little bit, because you might be surprised at how resilient these knives are, especially if you're using them in the correct fashion. So that's one point that we'd really like to make here, is that it doesn't really matter like the specific ingredient that you're cutting with your knife, but how you are cutting that ingredient. That's really going to determine whether or not you damage your knife. So with all of that said, we've got a couple ingredients here to cut, a carrot, some shallots, some potatoes. We're just gonna do some cool stuff with this knife, chop it up, chop some stuff up and kind of use it aggressively and in a way that we wouldn't typically recommend, and see if or what damage we cause to the knife. So the knife that we are going to use today is a 180mm Gyuto from Itetsu's Kurouchi line. It is an ironclad knife made from Shirogami #1. Beautiful, beautiful knife, and it is definitely one of the more delicate knives here in the shop. It was damaged during shipping. It's got a little bend or a little like chip thing happening at the tip here. So we don't feel super bad about damaging this knife. We're gonna rough it up and then we're gonna refurbish it and give it away in a future video anyways. So rest assured, no knives were harmed in the making of this video of harming knives. So before we start damaging this knife and showing you what not to do with it, we thought it would be a good thing to do to just show you some general like good habits and good practices to use to avoid any damage with your knife. So I'm going to grab a potato and we'll start cutting some stuff up and showing you the technique that you should be using. Cool, so I've got my knife, I'm ready to go with my potato here. We're gonna square this guy off and then we're gonna start making some other cuts with it. So, general rule of thumb when you're cutting anything is that you want to make sure that the knife is going as straight forward and backwards and as straight up and down as you possibly can. So when I'm making my cuts, I'm gonna start towards the tip of the knife. I'm gonna make sure I'm pushing away from myself and down as straight as I possibly can. When I reach the cutting board, I don't want to be applying a ton of pressure into the board either. That's very important. We'll talk more about that later. Cool, so I've got my potato all squared off here. Quick point as well at this point is make sure that we are wiping our knife down. That's a very, very good habit to get into, especially with a carbon steel knife, but also with your stainless steel knives. Keeps them clean, and any debris on the knife that may dry on there and otherwise affect the cutting of your knife will be wiped off and you'll be good to go. Cool, so I've got my potato in planks here. We're gonna do some rocking with this guy. This is probably one of the more common things that we hear when we get returns, is that, for instance, I was only cutting parsley, or I was only rolling through a otherwise soft ingredient that shouldn't damage my knife. And once again, like we pointed out at the beginning of the video, it's not so much what you're cutting, but how you're cutting that ingredient. So even if an ingredient is soft, like parsley or like these potatoes, if we use improper technique, we can definitely damage our knives. When we roll through an ingredient, what we're referring to as this rocking motion, like so, or when we place two hands on our knife and we sort of rock back and forth like this. This is totally possible with your knife. As you can see, I can totally do this. What you're going to run into issues though with chipping on your knife when you're doing this is if you're applying too much pressure down into the board and twisting the knife as you do so. This is going to put a lot of like torque and twist on the knife, which is really bad, especially for carbon steel knives. So I'll show you first how you want to do this, and what you're trying to do is go as straight forward and straight backwards as you possibly can, like we talked about. We're gonna try not to twist the knife on the board at all. We wanna make sure that the knife is going straight forward and backwards on the board. So, you know what to do, what not to do. We can use audible cues as well, like noises to kind of help us tell if we're doing anything bad to the knife. And especially when you're using this rocking motion and inevitably sort of twisting the knife on the board as you walk it across the ingredient. If you hear anything like this, oh, that little ding, ding. It's not happening a ton right now. Oh, yeah, that's no good. Did you hear that? Oh, yeah. So that noise is happening because the knife is like catching in the board, and then as you twist it, it's snapping back into place. Now, if I really go for it, and I think we're gonna do it to see what happens, you're definitely gonna get chipping. So let's see what happens if I really aggressively push down on this knife as I can't even do it. I'm trying to damage it, but it's not happening. Okay, let's just press down.
Okay, I can see it bending.
So it's not happening. I'm surprised. I thought this was gonna definitely in 2 seconds it was gonna break.
Oh my god, I can see the light hit it when it flexes. That's scary. Stop. This makes me so uncomfortable.
Okay, well, so as you can see, okay, so we got some chipping. Chipping! Success! Let me do it a little bit more.
Wait, we have more damage coming, don't worry.
Oh, there's a good one. Okay, we got a good one. Did you see that? That was some serious pressure down and twisting, and we've got a chip. We got our first chip. First chip. Okay, so close up on our damage. Look at that. Oh, man. You can see the knife's kind of bent and chipped along the edge there. That's no good. That's not good stuff right there. You don't want that. And just to reiterate again, you saw what happened. I was applying a ton of pressure down on the knife, twisting it very aggressively. And I'm surprised at how well it held up to that. I thought it was going to be much easier to chip it, but success, our first chipping of the day. That's what we wanted. Perfect. So there you have it, guys. Any extreme force down into the board with the knife and any twisting is going to cause serious damage. The other thing you can do to cause damage like this is, say I got a big pile here and I'm aggressively scraping my knife across the board. No good. You can still scrape across the board with your knife, but just make sure you use the spine of your knife rather than the actual edge of your knife. It may not be super visible here, but every time you scrape your knife across your board, you're causing the edge of the knife to fold over. So it may cause dulling more than anything, but you could definitely cause some chipping and otherwise undesirable things on your knife there. We've got a bunch of potato juice on here right now too, so I think what I'll do is just leave this on here for a little bit and form some rust on this knife so you can see sort of how long that takes and what it looks like once it's formed. So I'll just chop up some more potatoes. Make sure the knife is good and coated with tater juice. Oh yeah. And we'll just let it hang out for a second here. Okay, here we are, guys. This is 10 minutes with potato juice all over the blade. As you can see, not a whole lot in terms of rust happening here. We got a little patina forming, but that's pretty much it. So we want to get some rust on this. So I'm going to cut up a shallot next. Leave the shallot juice on there. It's more acidic, so it should actually cause some rusting. And we'll see how long it takes and how bad it is once we've cut up some shallots and failed to wipe the blade off after, which is a definite no-no. Okay, here we are, another 10 minutes has elapsed, this time with shallot juice on there. Couple little rust spots on here, but nothing crazy going on. So I think this is a good time to make the point that it's in Jake and my's opinion that the rusting issue for some of you out there is occurring not during use, but during storage. So really, before you put your knife away for the night, make a good point of making sure it's super duper dry. Use a very dry towel to wipe it off, and make sure it's not in contact with anything wet or otherwise like too moist for the knife. So yeah, there you have it. Okay, so the next sort of thing that I see happen to people's knives is, especially in the professional setting, but also for home cooks, is the knife sort of like dinging off of things. So I can think of a number of times I've done this to my knives at work. You know, you kind of haphazardly put your knife down and it slides into something and you ding the tip off of something, or it kind of like falls into, anyways, it happens, right? So we've got this Atoma diamond plate here. It's going to act as our like stainless steel like thing that we're knocking the knife off of. And we're just going to, starting gently and then getting more and more aggressive, continually ding the knife off of this thing and see what kind of chipping we cause here. So first one is, like I said, real nice and easy. Oh, ignore that one. I dinged it up here. Nothing. More aggressive. Oh, remember this one's old. Yeah, nothing yet. Stronger, harder, faster. One more time. Again, nothing. We got some folding of the edge happening now. And if you see it in the light there, you can see a little bit. It's close to that old one that I made, but just north of there, some little rounding happening. Harder. Oh gosh, I'm getting scared now. Oh, that was a good one. Still nothing. This blade is much more resilient than I thought. Jake and I both thought this was just gonna like destroy the knife, no problem, but okay. Harder.
I'm curious as to how hard they drop this thing in shipping now. To damage it in the
Right?
first place.
Like, do you like chuck it off of the truck or something? Jeez, Lou. Okay, here we go. Okay, there it was. That was a good one. Okay, there you go. There you have it. That's how hard you need to slam your knife into something to get a chip that size. Which honestly, if that happened, we'd be able to fix that up no problem. That's a chip. That's not obviously fun, but definitely not too bad. Okay, there you have it. The ding test complete. Moving on to our next test is the dropping test, right?
The next test is the dropping test.
Okay, we're all set up here for the drop test. Safety first though, guys, so I'm gonna get my goggles on here. First thing we're gonna do is drop the knife from standard countertop height, which is 36 inches, onto our wooden surface here. This is meant to emulate if you have like hardwood flooring in your kitchen, I guess. I don't know many people that have hardwood flooring, but anyways. So here we are, 36 inches is at the top of my thing here. Are we good, Jake? Am I good to drop?
As long as you're not afraid.
Okay. Dropping. 3, 2, 1. Woo-hoo! Okay. So exactly what I thought was going to happen. So, if you ever get your knife stuck in the board like this, there is funnily enough, a proper way to get it out of the board, right? If we are to like twist it this way or this way, definitely gonna snap the tip off, but I'm gonna try to take it out straight so we don't do any twisting. Okay, and there you go. We got like a little bend in the knife. So, there we go. You can see ever so slight bend. Maybe if I do it this way, it'll be easier to see. Oh, focus. There you go. See? A little bend. But hey, from countertop height down, not so bad.
I'd like to point out that the tip was already hanging on by a thread.
This is true. Jake makes another valid point. This tip is already damaged. So for this knife to have held up to that is pretty darn good. The true test though is definitely going to be the tile. So let's get set up for the tile. This is where the goggles are really necessary. Safety first. 36 inches. Nope. 36. Oh. 36 inches. The chick's running for cover. Okay, dropping in 3, 2, 1. Oh gosh, good thing I wore my protective equipment here. No knife in the tile, so it happened. We finally got it.
How is it still holding on?
It's still holding on. It bent like right at, and that's probably why it bent like right at where the
Oh, right where the crack was.
the crack was.
Yeah.
So it's still hanging on. When we fix this knife, we'll just break that piece off, obviously, and reshape the tip. But there you go, from countertop height onto tile floor. I'm afraid to say your knife is most likely not going to survive. Okay, so that's all we have for the tests in the shop. We're going to head over to our friends over at Neek Restaurant here in Hamilton, and we're going to put this knife in the dishwasher a bunch of times, see what happens. Dishwasher's not on. Alright guys, we're back from Neek. And the knife is actually in pretty good shape after being in the dishwasher 6 total times. Some things did definitely happen to it, but all in all, it's in, like I said, pretty good shape. In fact, some of the rust actually came off after being in the dishwasher a bunch of times. I would say the most damage caused by the dishwasher was to the handle, though it's still in pretty good shape. It feels a little more like matte, a little rougher, and the glue is a little bit soft in there. So I would imagine if you were to do this every day for a few months, it would eventually cause the handle to pop off, or at the very least your handle would start to get kind of cracky and not feel so good. So there you have it. After 6 rounds in the dishwasher, that's what we got. All right, so there you have it, guys. That's all of the tests we're going to conduct on this knife. All in all, we are pleasantly surprised with how well this knife held up to all of the damage that we caused to it. Normally, we would never do any of the things that we did to this knife in our normal day-to-day usage of it. So, though you do still want to be a little bit more careful with a Japanese knife, they are quite a bit more resilient than you may have initially thought. So if you have any questions about any of the tests that we ran today, or just in general another comment you want to leave down below, make sure to do that. Like this video and subscribe to our channel for more knife related content. Make sure to keep an eye on our channel because we will be doing a refurbishment video on this and then we'll be giving it away. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, stay sharp.